In sports, the rules are simple. Run faster, jump higher, win at all costs. But there's one rule that's never written in any playbook, never announced over any loudspeaker, never mentioned in any post-game interview. Don't complicate the fantasy. Don't make sponsors uncomfortable. Don't make fans question whether they can still idolize you. 2025 was the year 5 athletes looked at that unwritten rule and broke it anyway. From hockey rinks in Canada to football pitches in Europe, from swimming pools in America to rugby fields in the UK, they stood in front of cameras, contracts, and careers built on silence, and chose truth. These stories aren't about bravery. They're about math. The brutal calculation of weighing your dreams against your dignity, your privacy against your sanity, your career against your soul. This is what happened when the cost of hiding became higher than the price of honesty. 1. Luke ProCop, the hockey player, who checked his fear into the boards. At 6 feet 4 inches and 220 pounds of solid muscle, Luke ProCop is what hockey scouts dream about. Canadian-born with a jaw that looks like it was carved from Ontario granite, shoulders broad enough to carry equipment and expectations, and hands scarred from years of gripping sticks and blocking shots. At 22, his face still carries that boyish quality that makes him look younger than his years. But his eyes tell a different story. The eyes of someone who's been hit hard enough to know what pain costs and still keeps playing. The NHL drafted him in 2020, 3rd round, Nashville Predators. For a kid from Edmonton, it was the dream his father had, his grandfather had, every Canadian boy who ever believed ice could be heaven if you worked hard enough. Hockey culture isn't just masculine. It's aggressively, performatively, dangerously masculine. Don Cherry suits and locker room hazing and the kind of culture so fragile it shatters at the slightest deviation from script. The sport has a problem with gay players and everyone knows it, but nobody wants to say it during broadcast. The few NHL players who came out did so after their careers ended, their timing speaking volumes about what the sport tolerates while you're still useful on ice. In 2021, at 19, ProCop became the first player under NHL contract to come out publicly. The hockey world held its breath, waiting for him to fail so they could point and say, "See, this is why we don't allow it." But ProCop didn't fail. He just didn't succeed either, not in the way pre-coming out projections suggested. He's talented enough for the NHL, but has spent years in the AHL, grinding through minor league games while players with similar stats but simpler personal lives get called up. His agent won't say it on record, but off-record admits teams are concerned about locker room dynamics. That's code. Everyone knows what it means. January 2025 Milwaukee Admirals game, ProCop scores 2 goals and gets into a fight that leaves his knuckles bleeding through his gloves. As he skates off, a young man wearing ProCop's jersey stands at the glass. They make eye contact. ProCop skates over, taps the glass with his glove, mouths something cameras can't hear. The young man smiles. A photographer captures it. The photo goes viral, not because it's scandalous, but because it's achingly normal. An athlete acknowledging someone special. Except this time, that someone is a man. ESPN speculates. TMZ runs stories. Hockey forums explode. February 10th, Valentine's Week. ProCop posts what hockey wasn't ready for. Him and Jackson, clearly on a date, clearly together, clearly done hiding. Caption, "My boyfriend Jackson. 2 years of keeping him a secret was 2 years too long." The post hits 1.8 million likes, but within a week, 3 sponsorship deals that were being finalized suddenly go silent. Hockey equipment brands that had reached out stop responding. His agent reveals months later, Luke lost approximately $200,000 in endorsement income that year. Not because he wasn't talented. Brands were afraid of controversy, as if love is controversial. But other numbers tell a different story. Pride Hockey, an organization supporting queer players, sees membership increase 400%. Messages flood in from teenage hockey players in small Canadian towns where being gay could get you benched or worse. One message ProCop shares publicly, "I'm 16. I play AAA hockey in Alberta. I was going to quit because I couldn't do the locker room anymore. Then I saw your post with Jackson. I'm staying. Thank you for making space for people like me." That's the real math. $200,000 in lost endorsements. Countless young players who can now imagine futures that include both hockey and honesty. Luke ProCop looked at those numbers and decided the second one mattered more. So here's what hockey refuses to acknowledge. If talent alone decided careers, ProCop would be in the NHL. If character mattered, he'd be captain. But in a sport that still treats diversity as distraction, he's stuck proving over and over that being gay doesn't affect his slapshot. How many other talented players never made it past juniors because they couldn't stomach performing straightness? How many quit before anyone knew their names? And when will hockey admit that its diversity problem isn't about finding gay players? It's about stopping the system that crushes them before they can succeed. 2. Jankto, the footballer who gave up his country for his truth. Jankto has the lean, wiry build of a midfielder. Not bulky like defenders, not slight like wingers, but perfectly calibrated for box-to-box play that requires running for 90 minutes straight. At 27, with dark hair usually pulled back, a beard that reads more rugged than refined, and legs that look like they've covered thousands of kilometers across European pitches, he's what Czech football has exported for generations. Hardworking, technically skilled, and utterly dedicated to the sport. His face carries a certain Slavic severity. Sharp cheekbones, intense eyes that rarely smile on the pitch, a mouth set in permanent concentration. He's played for clubs across Europe: Sparta Prague, Udinese, Sampdoria, Getafe. A journeyman footballer making a solid career in top leagues, the kind of player who doesn't make headlines but makes teams function. But in February 2025, Jankto makes headlines for something football wasn't prepared to discuss. In a video posted to social media, speaking Czech with English subtitles, he says words that make him the first active male international footballer to come out. "I'm homosexual and I no longer want to hide myself." The video is simple. Him sitting in what looks like a home office, speaking directly to camera, no dramatic music or editing tricks, just honesty delivered in the flattest possible tone, like he's discussing tactics rather than rewriting football history. Within hours, Western European clubs and LGBTQ+ organizations flood him with support. Within days, the Czech Republic shows a different response. Czech football culture, like much of Eastern Europe, hasn't evolved at Western speeds. Homosexuality isn't illegal, but it's not embraced. Pride parades in Prague face counter-protests. Conservative politicians campaign on traditional values. And football, the nation's most popular sport, reflects those values back amplified. Within a week of Jankto's announcement, Czech sports media runs op-eds questioning whether he should continue representing the national team. One prominent commentator suggests his lifestyle choice might distract from team unity. Fan forums explode with homophobic comments that moderators barely attempt to control. Most damning, silence from Czech football authorities. No statement of support from the national team. No condemnation of the harassment. Just careful, cowardly neutrality. Jankto's club at the time, Sparta Prague, releases a brief statement supporting him. But behind closed doors, sources tell Bleacher Report management discusses whether his presence might affect sponsorships in conservative markets. His agent fields calls from clubs interested in signing him, mostly in Western Europe, where diversity is marketable. But offers from Eastern European clubs, where he'd played successfully before, dry up entirely. One agent working in the region tells The Athletic anonymously, "Clubs in Czech Republic, Poland, Russia, they're interested in his talent but terrified of the controversy. They'd rather sign someone 10% less skilled who won't generate those headlines." By June 2025, Jankto signs with Cagliari in Italy's Serie B, a step down from the leagues he'd previously played in. His talent hasn't diminished. His work rate remains exceptional. But his market value has been recalculated to include an image risk factor that wouldn't exist if he'd stayed silent. He'll likely never play for the Czech national team again, not officially banned, but quietly phased out through selection decisions that prioritize team cohesion. The cost of coming out, his international career, his value in transfer markets, his ability to play in his home country without facing hostility. But something unexpected happens in Italy. Cagliari fans, known for passionate support, embrace him. When opponents' fans chant slurs, Cagliari's ultras, traditionally conservative groups, shut it down. One banner at a match reads, "Talent has no sexuality." His teammates treat him normally, which is revolutionary in its ordinariness. A young Italian player on the team tells Gazzetta dello Sport, "Jakob being open about who he is makes it easier for all of us to be ourselves. That's what team means." 3 months after Jankto's announcement, A youth player in the Czech Republic's U19 system comes out to his team, then another in the U17s. Both cite Jankto as the reason they felt they could. Czech football doesn't celebrate this, doesn't acknowledge that Jankto's courage gave cover to the next generation. But the next generation knows, and that's the calculation Jankto made. Lose his international career. Lose endorsements in his home market. Lose the fantasy of playing for Czech Republic at major tournaments. But gain the ability to exist without performance. And give permission to kids who might quit football entirely if they thought the closet was mandatory. 3. Carl Nassib, the NFL player who proved the business case for authenticity. Carl Nassib doesn't look like a revolutionary. He looks like a defensive end, which is what he is. At 6 feet 7 inches and 275 pounds of muscle that moves faster than physics should allow, with a beard that makes him look more lumberjack than athlete, and eyes that carry surprising gentleness for someone whose job is tackling people violently, he's what NFL scouts call disruptive. He came out in 2021, making history as the first active NFL player to publicly announce he was gay. But 2025 is different. 2025 is when he proves that coming out isn't just morally right, it's financially smart. The NFL in 2021 responded to Nassib's announcement with carefully PR-managed support, rainbow flags at stadiums, statements about inclusion. His jersey became the league's top seller overnight, moving 250,000 units in 48 hours. But quietly, behind closed doors, teams worried. Would locker rooms accept him? Would conservative markets reject him? Would sponsors get nervous? Nassib played well but bounced between teams. Raiders, Buccaneers, a couple practice squads, and while officially it was roster decisions, everyone wondered how much his sexuality factored into calculations that teams would never admit to making. January 2025 changes the narrative. Nassib, now 32 and approaching the end of his playing career, launches a business venture that shouldn't be revolutionary but is a sports drink company specifically marketed to LGBTQ+ athletes. Equalade isn't trying to compete with Gatorade on shelf space at Walmart. It's targeting a niche market: queer athletes, progressive gyms, pride events, college LGBTQ+ sports programs, and betting that authenticity creates loyalty that traditional brands can't buy. The business plan is simple. 10% of profits go to LGBTQ+ youth sports programs. Marketing features real queer athletes, not rainbow-washed celebrities. And Nassib himself is the face of it, using his platform and credibility built from being openly gay in the NFL. Within 6 months, Equalade hits $3 million in revenue. Not Gatorade numbers, but profitable in a way that proves a concept. There's a market for authenticity. Major investors reach out. A prominent venture capital firm specializing in sports nutrition offers to buy 30% of the company at a valuation that makes Nassib wealthier than any single NFL contract ever did. One investor tells Forbes, Carl proved there's a massive underserved market of LGBTQ+ consumers who want products that represent them, not just rainbow logos during Pride Month. That's sustainable business. But the real story breaks in September 2025. A major sports apparel company, think Nike, Adidas level, signs Nassib as a brand ambassador. Not for a Pride campaign that runs 1 month then disappears, but as a permanent face of their new athletic line marketed to athletes who refuse to be defined by limits. The campaign features Nassib training, mentoring young players, and in one powerful ad, simply existing as an openly gay man in spaces that traditionally excluded people like him. The tagline, "Just Be." The contract is reportedly worth 7 figures over 3 years. Conservative sports media explodes. One Fox Sports commentator rants about woke capitalism. Online forums question whether Nassib deserves the endorsement given he's not a superstar player. But the brand stands firm, and here's why. Their internal data shows that Gen Z and millennial consumers, the demographics with the most purchasing power going forward, actively prefer brands that support LGBTQ+ inclusion, not just tolerate it. Actively support it. Nassib isn't a diversity hire. He's a calculated business decision based on where markets are moving. By December 2025, 3 other NFL players come out publicly. All cite Nassib's success, not just his courage in 2021, but his business success in 2025, as proof that being openly gay doesn't end your career. It expands it in directions the traditional path doesn't offer. One player tells ESPN, Carl showed us that coming out opens doors sponsors didn't even know existed. Yeah, you might lose some conservative endorsements, but you gain access to markets that are underserved and loyal. That's better business. What Carl Nassib proved in 2025. The closet isn't just morally wrong, it's financially stupid. Companies are leaving money on the table by not marketing to LGBTQ+ consumers authentically. Athletes are limiting their earning potential by hiding. And the sports industry's assumption that being openly gay hurts marketability. It's based on outdated data from demographics that are aging out while younger consumers demand authenticity. So the question isn't, can gay athletes succeed? The question is, why would you choose to hide when authenticity is worth millions? Nassib didn't just come out. He built an empire on being out. And that's the revolution, making honesty not just brave, but profitable. 4. Amini Fonua, the rugby player who united. A divided nation. Amini Fonua is what rugby builds. 6 feet 2 inches, 240 pounds of pure muscle wrapped in Tongan heritage and British upbringing, with shoulders that look like they could support buildings and thighs that make standard athletic wear look painted on. At 28, his face carries the map of his sport, a nose broken twice, a scar above his left eyebrow from a boot to the face, and a smile that appears rarely on the pitch but transforms his entire presence when it does. Born in Tonga, raised in London, representing England at international level, he embodies rugby's complicated relationship with identity, tradition, and change. Rugby union has always positioned itself as more progressive than football, openly celebrating its working-class roots while attracting private school players, embracing international diversity while maintaining very British power structures. A few players have come out after retiring. Gareth Thomas in 2009, several others since. But active players coming out while still at peak performance? Virtually unheard of. The sport talks about brotherhood and inclusion, but in practice, locker room culture remains aggressively heteronormative, banter that crosses lines, jokes that aren't quite jokes, and a silence around sexuality that everyone maintains because addressing it might make things awkward. March 2025, Six Nations Championship, Europe's premier rugby tournament, England versus Scotland at Twickenham Stadium, 82,000 fans packed in, millions watching globally. Fonua plays brilliantly, 2 tries, countless bone-crushing tackles, the kind of performance that makes highlight reels. England wins. In the post-match interview, still breathing hard, jersey soaked with sweat and grass stains, he's asked the standard questions about the game. Then, unprompted, he adds, "I want to say something personal. I'm gay. I've been with my partner Thomas for 5 years. I'm tired of pretending he doesn't exist when he's the reason I have the strength to play like this." The interviewer freezes. The camera stays on Fonua's face, exhausted, sincere, relieved. Within seconds, social media explodes. Amini Fonua trends globally. British sports media doesn't know how to react. Some celebrate. Others question the timing, as if there's ever a good time. Conservative commentators suggest he's making rugby about politics instead of sport, ignoring that hiding was always political, just politics they agreed with. But something unexpected happens. The rugby community, players, coaches, former pros, rallies around him in ways other sports haven't for their openly gay athletes. Within 24 hours, over 100 current and former players post messages of support. England's captain calls him one of the bravest men I know. The Rugby Football Union releases a strong statement celebrating him. Even traditionally conservative rugby nations like South Africa and New Zealand see players and officials publicly supporting him. Why? Because rugby, for all its problems, has a culture of team above all. And Fonua framed his announcement not as individual identity politics, but as team honesty. "I want to play my best rugby, and I can only do that if I stop dividing myself." That language resonates in a sport built on collective effort. One former England captain tells The Telegraph, "Rugby demands you trust the person next to you with your physical safety. If Amini trusts us with his truth, we honor that by protecting him." Within a month, 2 youth rugby players in England come out to their teams. Then a semi-professional player in France. Then a grassroots coach in Wales. The ripple spreads through rugby faster than through any other sport, and analysts suggest it's because rugby's team culture, properly leveraged, becomes a protection rather than threat. Fonua's club, Northampton Saints, sees membership applications to their youth programs increase 40%, with several applications specifically mentioning Fonua's announcement as reason for joining. But it's not all celebration. Fonua receives death threats serious enough to require security. When Northampton plays away games at certain clubs, opposing fans chant slurs. Social media becomes toxic enough that he deletes his apps for months. His partner, Thomas, thrust into public visibility he never wanted, struggles with the scrutiny. And Fonua admits in a later interview that he battles anxiety now in ways he never did before coming out. The freedom is real, but so is the target on your back. Yet he keeps playing, keeps scoring, keeps being undeniably, unavoidably excellent at his sport. And that's what changes minds. Not speeches about inclusion, but performance that makes exclusion look like shooting yourself in the foot. As one rugby pundit writes, if you don't want Amini Fonua on your team because he's gay, you don't want to win badly enough. 5. David Popovici, the swimmer who made Romania reconsider. David Popovici doesn't look like a revolutionary when you first see him. He looks like what happens when you engineer a human specifically for swimming. At 20, standing 6 feet 3 inches with shoulders that create a wake when he walks and a torso that tapers to a surprisingly narrow waist, his body is geometry optimized for water. Romanian, with dark hair he keeps short because long hair adds drag, pale skin that burns under competition lights, and deep-set brown eyes that rarely show emotion before races but light up with rare smiles after victories. He's what swimming does to the genetically gifted, turns them into machines that happen to feel. By 2024, Popovici had already rewritten record books. World champion at 100 meters and 200 meters freestyle, multiple world records, the kind of dominance that makes him Romania's biggest sports export since Nadia Comaneci. In Eastern Europe, where LGBTQ+ rights lag far behind Western Europe, Popovici was a national hero. Clean-cut, focused, seemingly apolitical. The perfect ambassador for Romanian athletics. Then November 2025, he posts something to Instagram that shatters that carefully managed image. A photo with another man, caption in Romanian and English. 1 year with my boyfriend Alex, happiest year of my life. Romania's response is swift and divided. Progressive Bucharest celebrates. Conservative rural regions condemn. The Romanian Swimming Federation releases a statement so neutral it says nothing while somehow managing to sound disappointed. Several sponsors go silent, not dropping him officially, just stopping communication. Romanian state television, which had aired hours of his swimming competitions, suddenly reduces coverage. And the comments section of every news article becomes a battleground between those celebrating his courage and those mourning the loss of a role model. But here's where it gets complicated. Popovici is too valuable to fully cancel. He's still the fastest swimmer in several events. He's still likely to medal at the next Olympics. And swimming, unlike team sports, doesn't care about locker room dynamics. You race alone against the clock. His times don't change because he came out. And in a sport where performance is measurable in hundredths of seconds, opinions can't argue with stopwatches. December 2025, European Swimming Championships. Popovici competes for the first time since coming out. When his name is announced, the arena in Belgrade, not exactly a beacon of progressive values, gives him standing ovation. He wins gold in the 100-meter freestyle, breaking his own European record. In the post-race interview, breathless and dripping, he's asked if being open about his relationship affected his performance. His answer becomes the most watched swimming interview clip of the year. Being able to focus fully on swimming instead of hiding who I love, that made me faster. The business case writes itself. Within weeks, 2 major international brands that had been hesitant, fearing backlash in conservative markets, signed Popovici to endorsement deals specifically highlighting his authenticity. One campaign features him training with his boyfriend visible in backgrounds, with tagline, "Nothing holds you back like secrets." Another shows him racing, then coming out of the pool to Alex waiting, simply existing as a couple without it being the entire message. What Popovici proved in Romania specifically, and Eastern Europe generally, excellence creates space that activism can't. When you're the best at what you do, objections to your personal life start sounding like excuses. When you keep winning after coming out, arguments that being gay affects performance collapse. 3 months after his announcement, a Hungarian swimmer, then a Polish one, both come out publicly. Both cite Popovici showing them it's survivable. But survival isn't thriving. Popovici admits in interviews that he can't go back to Romania safely. Too much hate mail, too many threats. His family faces harassment in their hometown. He trains in Western Europe now, effectively exiled from his own country by the honesty that was supposed to liberate him. The cost? His homeland. The gain? The ability to exist without splitting himself. And the question Romania must answer: how many world-class athletes will you drive away before you realize intolerance is expensive? 5 athletes, 5 different sports, 5 countries forced to confront what inclusion actually costs and who pays the price. From Luke ProCop's lost NHL dreams to Jankto's international career, from Carl Nassib's business empire to Amini Fonua's rugby revolution, from David Popovici's exile from his homeland, 2025 proved that coming out in sports isn't a victory lap. It's a calculation, a sacrifice, a trade, silence for selfhood, safety for authenticity, guaranteed success for uncertain freedom. These men didn't just risk their careers. They traded them for something sports still doesn't know how to value: the ability to exist fully, honestly, without apology. Which story hit hardest? Which sacrifice felt too high? Drop your thoughts below. Because at Behind the Fame, we're not just telling sports stories. We're asking what sports actually values, and whether that's worth it. Subscribe if you believe these stories matter.